Welcome back to my channel. So I know it's been at least like 2 or 3 weeks, no, because I am really bad at math, but something around there. And it's not that I didn't think about recording. I'm really trying to be more devoted to the things that I say I want to do. I prefer to use the term devoted or devotion instead of discipline. I feel like when I use that word, it feels too authoritative and like restricted, and like I'm stubborn, and as a Scorpio I don't really like being told what to do. So even me telling me what to do and having to be very disciplined with it, it sounds weird. Devotion feels more loving, because I understand that being disciplined is an act of self-love, but I prefer the term devotion and being devoted. Anyways, I'm back here, and like I said, it's not like I haven't thought to make videos. I'm, trying to still get my structure, my flow down, which I know will only come from me doing it. And another thing that kind of was hindering me, as you can hear in the background, that is my son, my lovely son, and his Elmo on the TV. But I thought, what better episode than this one, because as you could tell by the title, we are talking about me as a single parent, a single mom of a child who is diagnosed with autism, or was diagnosed with autism. Do I know grammar? Okay, so like I said, you'll be hearing my son through the background. Hopefully it's not too loud and you can still hear me. I don't have a mic or none of the little fancy setup things. We just use my phone, one little light, and that is it. Okay, so I guess I just want to talk about my experience and how it has been. So my son was diagnosed with autism level 2, like moderately autistic, in January of this year, January 2025. Oh no, January. You see, man, I don't know math. My son was diagnosed with autism January 2026. And to be completely honest, I was already seeing sort of the signs. I've never really had to look out for that in anyone else, but because it's my son and myself day in, day out, there's usually nobody else there. Yes, we go and visit family. Yes, my homegirl, who is basically his auntie, she's basically like family. She's always over here. So there were signs that kind of were showing. And when I would look to my peers, my friends, other people, who are parents within my community, and seeing like the different milestones that their children were reaching and hitting, I'd be like, and I had to really stop myself a lot of times, because I'm like, oh, to compare my son to somebody else is terrible. The same way as you would compare yourself to somebody else and to try to measure up. But there's just certain things that children usually start to do. But yes, there's certain things that children start to do at certain points throughout their development. And every time I would take him to his pediatrician, they would ask me all these questions, once again, development questions, that I would fill out a questionnaire, do a screening. And they didn't really say anything yet. They didn't feel like it was, because every child is different. Every child develops differently, matures differently. They start doing different things differently. Like some children, they might talk first before they walk, versus some children might walk before they even talk. So it's what I can say, it's definitely a beautiful process if you've never had children, and with your first child, learning how that process goes and understanding that process is different for everybody. Like I said, I'm a very observant person, and it's just my son and I day in, day out. So I'm able to watch and see certain things that he does, and like patterns he does, and certain things that I'm like, and not in a bad way, but just that he's different. And so I was picking up on a lot of the things that he's doing. He loves to line toys up. He's just now with therapies getting into actually playing with toys, but before it was more so he kind of lines the toys up. He did a lot of mouthing, so a lot of his toys go in his mouth. Well, a lot of things go in his mouth, which is like, oh, you're stressing me. He would be spinning. He likes to spin sometimes. And then as you can hear him, this is like kind of like a stimming thing. He's been doing this for a while. And some people are like, oh, he's trying to talk. And it's like, yes, he might very well be trying to talk, but it's also still something underlying within it. And I also don't want to give the idea where I don't believe in my child and I don't have faith in the fact that he's going to talk or be able to be greater than I could be. You know what I mean? I have all of those beliefs and those hopes for him, but I also don't want to push him too far into what he's not ready for yet. You know, he has to develop at his own stage. But going back to me observing and noticing when once again, my peers and people in my community, friends, they have small children as well, and saying, oh, they haven't said one word. He hasn't said one word. Like he hasn't. I'm like, no. He's like, you know, he'll babble and things will sound like things. I think we a lot of times as parents and as people in community with children and babies, we usually be like, oh, he was trying to say this or he was trying to say that. And once again, while that may be true, because two things could be true at the same time, I was just like, you see someone's over here by my side. I'm not gonna put his face on camera. Thank you. While those things may be true, I was just like, okay, I feel like I need to get him screened. I feel like I need to start early intervention. And so I went to his pediatrician, and then I got a referral to an agency for early intervention. And they were able to screen him. Hi, you wanna, okay. What happened? Oh. All right, he's gonna be in my lap. I'm gonna try my best not to have his face in the camera. So yeah, I went to early intervention, or I had a pediatrician refer me to an agency, and they asked me a whole bunch of questions. And as you know, here in New York, and I'm not sure if it's all of America, like all the states, but at least in New York, early intervention is free. Without insurance. It's provided by the city and the state, you know, once the child from 0 to 3 years old. 3 years old is usually where, like, say for example, if your child is in the program already, they'll just like, once they turn 3, like their services kind of roll over and prepare them, or you know, they have to either be in a daycare or a preschool or something. But yeah, I got screened for early intervention for him, and it first started with just speech therapy and something called specialized instruction. And once he was officially diagnosed in January of 2026, that's when specialized instruction transitioned into ABA, or it's kind of like one and the same. And even for the diagnosis, we had to meet with a psychologist, and the psychologist asked me several questions. Even to get the official diagnosis, we met with the psychologist. She basically asked me a whole bunch of questions, and then she also watched him play and just kind of watched his natural movements, and that's how the diagnosis was made. And one thing I can say, between the psychologist and all the other therapists and like the people at the agency for early intervention, they congratulated me for being observant, because you know, they say a lot of parents don't really notice, and this is not to put me on a pedestal or to, you know, shame or guilt other parents, but I have the luxury and the privilege to watch my son at home and to see, you know, his behaviors. He is trying to get comfortable. It's nap time. But yeah, so, you know, they congratulated me for being observant and providing that information, because not that they're not good at their job, you know what I mean? But when it comes down to it, you should know your child better than anyone else. You know what I mean? And so the fact that I even had an inkling of like, he really got a song, he got it. It's actually a joke between me and my homegirl, his like auntie, the one who's like family, where, you know, before he got his diagnosis, you know, and I was telling her that it was coming up, the evaluation, and she was just like, well, what are they gonna do? Like, what are they gonna like say like for him to have? I'm like, they probably like, he got it. I'm like, we already low-key know, you know? And I feel like that's just, we say that now, like, oh, he got it. Anytime he does something that's a little, now we say that to ourselves now. We're like, maybe we got it too. We know that they can be high functioning, and it just because you get a diagnosis, it doesn't mean that you're dunce. It doesn't mean that you're not smart. It doesn't mean that you're incapable of being a normal member of society, okay? There's different levels of the spectrum. And I would say there are more, I can't say there's more rough days. It really depends on how you look at it. Once again, I have the luxury and the privilege to be at home with my son day in, day out. So I try to fit in my me time wherever I can. I'm able to work and do things while he's doing his own things. Once again, that's why Elmo be running over there and he just does his own thing. The thing about my son is he likes to engage when he's ready, but he likes his own, like, he's his own little tornado. He likes to do what he wants to do. And it's great for me only because I was like that as a child. He kind of wants to just go and be on his own, which I'm fine. Like, that's perfect because I have things to do. Mommy has things to do and I need you to go ahead and do your own things. You feel me? How can I put this? Like, so I wouldn't say that it's all difficult. I think every child is different and every child is going to have their struggles, those things that you're going to have to learn how to adapt. That's part of parenting, is adapting to a whole nother person that, to be quite frank, did not ask to be here. The idea of like, oh, well, I brought you in, I could take you out. And it's just like, they did not ask to be here. None of us asked to be here, and we're here, So I think as a parent, it is really our duty to make sure that we do the absolute best for our child and do whatever it takes to make sure that they could develop in the way that they need to develop. So yes, it has its struggles. Yes, I do be tired. Yes, I am overwhelmed. Yes, I'm overstimulated. A majority of the time, what I realize is I don't have patience for a lot of things because I reserve my patience for my son. I reserve my patience, or I reserve my love for my son. I reserve like all the extra little bits that I used to be able to like pour into my cup and overfill into others, all goes to my son. So there are some rough days. I'm not gonna lie and say that there isn't. But you just have to take time. You have to take time. And once again, I know I'm speaking from a privileged standpoint where I'm able to stay at home and it's just me and my son. There's not other, personalities or children or family that I have to necessarily balance within my household. But it just takes time. You have to be patient. So once again, that any little bit of patience you have to reserve it for your son or for your child, But yeah, I don't think it's all bad. I think even the days that are rough and are exhausting, they're teaching me things about myself. I definitely had to learn a lot of emotional regulation because it's just like they don't know what they don't know. They don't know that they're, expressing themselves in a way that's very unpleasant. And if we try and express ourselves in an equally unpleasant way, how does that teach them? It doesn't. We are their biggest teachers. They will follow exactly what we do without us even telling them. That's how that works, But I can't say that it's all bad. It definitely has its struggles, and yes, I would love more help. Yes, I would love for things to be different. But at the end of the day, this is what Jah Jah has blessed me with, and this is, kind of my duty and my task that I have to take on. And it's really all about your attitude and your perspective. Once again, I do understand that I'm speaking from more of a privileged kind of standpoint or perspective, but it really is what you make it. If you keep saying what if, or I wish things were like this, or I wish I did, that does nothing for you. It really does nothing for you except kind of trying to like remove you from what your reality is, remove you from actually being an active participant in your child's life and being able to adapt to what it is your daily life is going to be, adapt to your child's mannerisms, adapt to, how your child chooses to express themselves, and you're missing out on that. You really have to take these moments as gold because it's only going to help you be better at helping them. It's only going to help your relationship grow stronger with you overstanding and potentially understanding what your child is doing, how your child experiences the world, your child's perspective, instead of focusing on the bad things. Because I once again, I could have came on here and talked about all the struggles I go through because I be holding on for dear life up in here. Once again, I'm not trying to say that there are not no rough days, and we could probably have a separate conversation, but I prefer to focus on the positive things and the learning lesson through it, how I'm navigating through this. Once again, I'm not saying it's easy, and once again, I probably am speaking from a privileged perspective of someone who doesn't have to go out the house and work, someone who doesn't have multiple kids, someone who's not, don't have any other dependents or whatever. But I just want to leave you with that message of making sure that you actually stay present, and try to also, within that, make sure you take the time to yourself. Make sure you figure out a way to ground yourself, so that, because I'm not gonna lie and say you're not gonna get overstimulated or overwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna do that to you. But within that, make sure you take time to ground yourself. Like, I love to ground myself in the morning when I wake up. When I wake up, no TV, not even my phone. I just sit with my thoughts, let them come and go, whether they're good or bad. You know what I mean? You just gotta let it sit. And then even within that, you gotta find things that you like to do. That's why I picked up crocheting as a hobby. It's been so good for me, because it's like, anything else that I used to do, it's like it would be too much. And for me to be able to still watch my son and be able to engage with him without because I also paint and stuff, or I used to paint. I haven't painted in a long time. To set all of that up and to make sure he doesn't dabble into things, so you just have to find what it is that works for you. Yeah. So I'm going to end this video. I'm sorry if this is all over the place. I just was running, just talking like it was a conversation. I didn't put no bullet points or anything. This is just off of the top of my mind. Let me know how you like this video, or if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave your comments if you have anything to add to the conversation. If you like the vibe here, as you can see, it's very chill. Like I said, my son is right here on my lap. Elmo is running in the background. we do what we can. If I could show up and be more presentable, I will. But life is real. Life is real, okay? So if you like the vibe here, subscribe. You know what I mean? I'm going to try to be a lot more devoted to picking up the phone and talking about a topic. My issue is I don't like speaking on things that I don't know. I like to operate from a point of integrity. So sometimes if I don't pick up the phone, it's just because I feel like I don't have enough to say. But thank you for chilling and rocking with me, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Wind blew soft on Rasta skin. Peace inside, no need to